happens to be my favorite actor. I grew up, completely in love with Kamal Hassan. And I absolutely loved the book because I read it the minute it got released. And it is my pleasure to invite Hariharan Krishnan and Yamini Krishna onto the dais. Yamini works on film, urban, and Deccan histories. She's the recipient of many research awards and grants and has contributed significantly to print and digital publications. Over to you, Yamini. We will have the session for 35 to 40 minutes, after which we will open the session for Q&A for 10 minutes. So, over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming. I'm looking forward to this session very much, like all of you. Let me first introduce our speaker today. Hariharan Krishnan graduated in the direction from Film and Television Institute of India and has made 9 feature films and over 350 short and documentary films. His films have won national awards and have been selected for international festivals as well. As a writer-critic, he has contributed to several books and journals on media and cinema. As you all know, Kamal Hassan, A Cinematic Journey, I see a lot of you have it, but this is the book, is what we're going to discuss today. And I'd add a couple more lines from my side, which is not there in his biographies. I think he's a fantastic teacher. He has been teaching cinema to a lot of generations of people around the country and outside of it as well. And a brief introduction to, so the format we will follow is I'll just give a couple of lines from my end. I've read the book. And then I'll initiate the discussion with some questions, followed by we'll open it up to you for whatever you want to ask. So this book was very exciting. Just to begin with what I thought about the book. I'll start with an anecdote. Before coming here, I got this book from my mother because she immediately stole it after I read it. And then in between, my sister also was reading it. So you see, and I was discussing this with Mr. Hari, and he was saying that this is what Kamal Hassan means, that, 3 generations of people are interested in knowing what is happening about the actor, his journey, and even his politics, all of which I'm hoping we get a chance to talk about. So about the book from my end. Kamal Hassan, A Cinematic Journey. This book examines the journey of Kamal Hassan as an artist through his films. I would call it an intimate portrait of the actor and star through the films. And the more distinct aspect of this is, you get to see the inner world of the star through the film. So none of it is, it's like you see a lot of the, books which are mostly talking about what happens behind the scene, and the narrative itself is not so significant. I mean, in the sense the film itself is not so significant, but this is a very integrated approach where you also read about the film itself, because a lot of us are fans of films itself. I mean, yes, the actor, but we also are very interested in what the medium of cinema. So it's very integrated and goes back and forth between, not even back and forth, very integrated way of looking at the star through the cinema itself. He is, as I've said, he's been a teacher and he's been deeply intertwined with cinema, the medium of cinema. He looks at important films of Kamal Hassan in the context of Tamil and national politics. So that's also one other aspect which I would like to focus in this discussion, that films are not separate from politics. We were having a discussion before this, that often, people say, story kya hai? It's not the story per se, but there's so much more to the medium of cinema, and which is what he brings to this book, where he's talking about the politics and how that politics, they're responding to the international and national and local politics through their cinema. You see what their ideology is, how their ideology is shifting through the medium of cinema itself. The book compares, it has a rich commentary on the films by comparing the narrative, thematic, stylistic, and philosophical aspects with some world-renowned auteurs. It's almost a pleasure that you come across a reference of some other auteur, and how that is being, this cinema of Kamal Hassan is in conversation with an auteur somewhere else. And as a cinephile, you would be delighted to see those notes as well. The film analysis is complemented with interviews with the actor and other important people in the life of a star. Along with the star, we get a glimpse into some of the prolific directors of his time, like Balachandar or Vishwanath, where you are understanding the star, but also understanding these directors who have crafted the star. So that's broadly what this book is about. To begin the discussion, Mr. Hari, can you start with the journey of this book? How did this book happen?
Yeah, this exactly the journey starts way back in 2009. When I am teaching at the LV Prasad Film Academy, and he called on me to say, can we conduct a screenplay writing course for a week at the newly opened IIT auditorium? I said, okay, I'll conduct it for you. Very casually, I said, and I told all my students to come there. And in those 6 days of my conducting a screenplay writing workshop, he was sitting in the front row all the time, and with his daughter, and he was taking notes. And on the 4th day, during the lunch break, we were sitting separately, and he said, Hari, we should start a film school, a separate film school. I know you are running the academy, but we should go to one scale higher than this. And he said, the most important thing, that when the student comes into making a movie, she or he should realize that this is an international industrial medium. This is not like a dancer learning Bharatanatyam or a writer learning how to write a poem. This filmmaker is handling industrial equipment like cameras and lights and microphones, projections. Quite often, these are instruments which are not made in the country. They are made abroad, so it is made for different sensibilities. And therefore, to understand your own script, your own film, and other people's films, you need to understand the context of the film more than the text. Once the filmmaker understands the context of how the film is made and why it became a success from the contextual point of view, then the text becomes subservient. And that's where the journey began. I told him, I'm going to take you as my primary focus, and I'm going to study the context of how you came up in the film industry. So in short, this book is in one line, studying an ordinary actor who came stumbling into Madras, and how did he become such a superstar. So it is clear that it cannot be just because of his acting alone. It has to be surrounded by a lot of contextual premises. And that's what I'm analyzing. So, for example, one of the things that overarches the entire story is a concept called a post-colonial situation. That we are a nation who have emerged after 400 years under a colony. Now, a lot of the young generation have no idea about what the colony was and how it moved and what were they. You want that microphone? You want to give that? Okay. So 90%, we don't even know what the colony was, what the British did. So according to me, I study popular cinema, Indian cinema, as the fundamental discourse available to all of us on what is post-colonialism. As the first overarching theme. So now if I have to make it simpler for you, what is this post-colonialism that you're talking about? How is it evident in our movies? Very simple. You look at most of our movies, you will find that the police, the politician, and the lawyer are always corrupt. They're always crooks. I'm saying, why are they always crooks? I mean, after all, we see so many of American TV series, all police are all doing good. And that's because that is a colonial legacy that has been left behind, and it has not erased itself. The same policeman, the same lawyer, and the same politician is continuing without even changing the titles of them. For example, we still have constable. And I'm saying, do you know what is a constable? A constable was a guy in the police station who was in charge of the horses. He's constable. And we still have constables. And we have a head constable. I say, we still have collectors. What is he collecting? Nothing. We still have lieutenants. We still have admirals. Why are we continuing with this British drama? But that is a legacy of the British colonial period, which has not left us. And now, how do I critique it? I'm not criticizing it. How do I critique it? The only way to critique it is that I call these bluff. Let me give you one more example. What is the post-colonial situation? Very nearby. You know, we are probably one nation which has produced the maximum number of films about lost and found children. इतने पिक्चर है and end में जुड़ जाते हैं. You know, why are we keeping making these movies? From Raj Kapoor's Avara till Amar Akbar Anthony till Apurva Sagodargal and, you know, Michael Madana Kamaraj, and these are all about lost and found kids, you know. Why are we stressing? Why are we continuously stressing on these lost and found children? Again, it is the only way we can deal with the partition. A nation which was one is partitioned and we are separated. And this separation is the anguish which continues into our films. So it goes back to a wonderful Tamil film called Parasakti, where a brother and sister had separated, and finally the brother comes and meets Burma se idhar aaya, separate ho gaya. My own family, or Burmese, my father technically a Burmese, but he left Burma in the war and came and settled down in India. He is totally new to India. However, so these are the narratives that continue. Now some people will tell me, but if you not remember it, how does it happen? I have a simple answer for that. Thanks to a new modern discovery called the guts. You know, there's a lot of talk about guts in our body. A lot of our memories are stored in our guts. There are trillion cells inside us. And therefore, one of the first things that we react to is through our guts. How does it feel to be like this? So, this is my overarching arc. How am I going to trace this? So when I told Kamal Haasan, this is how I'm going to write the book, and I'm going to select 40 films out of your 260 films, his first reaction was, are you kidding me? Are there 40 films worth watching? I thought they were all kachara films I have done, you know. And I, come on, don't be so modest. I don't think there are kachara films. There are 40 films definitely worth watching, you know. So we picked up 40 and then we went back and forth, you know, discussing what is the aspect. So I pitched in a lot of ideas which he himself, you know, come to his, you know, in subliminal mind. Oh, yeah, correct. This is so Chaplinesque. This is so much like Buster Keaton. This is so much like Fassbender. You know, or this is so much like, you know, who's that? Jacques Tati, director. Konta? Jacques Tati. Jacques Tati is the director, correct. Jacques Tati, the French director. He has seen all these films. He has seen Bergman, he's seen Godard, all these things. So he's coming from an international reference point. Now this is a complicated area. He's only an actor. There are directors, there are music, they're all separate. But the entire unit, he would somehow cohese. They would all come to him, oh, you know so much about cinema, tell us. So he was coming into from an actor's point of view. Now I will only sum up by saying that he did not want to be an actor. He wanted to be a filmmaker. He wanted to be a director. And therefore he approached K. Balachandran to be his assistant. K. Balachandran saw his talent and he said, why don't you do one small role in my film? So in Arangetram, Muntur Mudichi, Avargal, and you know, all those 5 films that he has done, he played small roles. But he was continuously learning from Balachandran. His writing technique, his cinematographic technique, his way he structured his films. But when he told Balachandran, I want to be a filmmaker, it was Balachandran who said, don't ever make that mistake. You will be a total misfit. This film industry will spit you out with your ideas, your very advanced ideas. They will throw you out. But your face sells. Go sell your face. Go become an actor. So he would always tell me, you know, I was the most reluctant actor, you know. I never wanted to be an actor. But now that he has so much of knowledge about filmmaking, he would advise, and producers would lap it up. Nalla advice, sir. Idu podu, ipdi pannuma, apdi pannuma. Indha paattu naane paadren. Sir, neenga paadunga sir indha paattu. Naane ezhudren, neenga ezhudren. They are very happy. He is giving it all free as part of the package deal, you know. So he said, I got, you know, in my own enthusiasm, I got, you know, vacuum cleaned into all these films. And it was one film after another film. And, you know, between 1975 and 1985, Kamal Haasan has done 100 feature films. 100. I said, did you even have time to brush your teeth, you know? Yes, how picture acting, directing, sometimes, dubbing and going back and forth locations. But he was just, I needed that money. And many a times, I'll tell you another story here. Many a times, he would sign up for a film because the earliest film is not paid for. That film flopped. Sir, I'll pay you the film in the next movie. Pay you the money in the next film. So he will act in that film to get the money back from the previous film, So he will always tell me, Hari, please don't step into this film industry. This is slush. This is sewage. It stinks. Don't get into it. And therefore, the idea of a Bahurupi. You want to ask me that question?
Yes. So he characterizes, Kamal Hassan in two ways, actually. I wanted to ask you both of those questions. So one is he calls him androgynous, and the second is he calls him Bahurupi. So both are quite interesting. So if you can, I've read the book. For those who haven't, please could you?
So I'll answer the second, that is the Bahurupi. So because he told me that, because I am not interested in acting, at least let me entertain myself. So he kept on doing put makeup, He did Chachi Chasobi, or he would do film like Michael Madana Kamarajan when he has the opportunity to play 3 other makeup, or Appu Raja where he had to become a dwarf. It's so painful to do that dwarf's role, with your leg always tied up like that, and you're walking on your knees. Try walking on your knees, for a whole feature film, And he did that. He said, that's the only way I can learn acting, I can be myself. So that is the Bahurupi. He always wanted to see himself as different. Of course, audience also enjoyed it. They enjoyed seeing him in different roles, and after some time, that becomes the selling point of the film. That in this film, Kamal Hassan comes like this. He will come like, and then he did Dashavataram, in which comes there 10 different roles, including George Bush. He put makeup looking like George Bush. So once, I'll tell you one remarkable example to prove this point. There is a film called Kurudi Punal, which is a remake of the Govind Nihalani film, which is a big success. Ardha Satya. No, not Ardha Satya. Drovakal. Now, in that remake, there is about, he's a normal cop, he's throughout the normal cop, and they're watching this film, and they are appreciating him, Acha, but there is no that Kamal Hassan. So there is a scene in which, towards the end of the film, where he is refusing to, he's a cop, they are telling, tell me what is the code word, then only I will leave you, He refuses to tell the code word. And I'm sitting in the theater and watching this film, and this Nasser, who plays the villain, he tells his henchmen, beat him up, He will tell the code word. So there's a room, he's locked inside the room, and dishum, 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 you can hear sounds. Then afterward, they open the door and say, sir, he's ready. He'll talk now. So Nasser goes inside, and Kamal Hassan's face is down like that, completely, bent over. And Nasser holds his hair and yanks it up. And when he yanks it up, his face is bloodied, his eyes hanging out like this, his flesh is gone like that, his face full of blood. And the audience clapped. I said, pagal hai. Your hero is bashed up and you are clapping. I said, why are you clapping? Sir, super makeup, sir. They have come for that. And he will do one thing for us. एक बार तो करेगा वो. ये makeup के लिए clap किया उन लोगों ने. So then you know how the audience have been gamed into the whole situation. No? They are coming for certain expectations. But this becomes his own failure, because he has to keep on reinventing himself on the screen, But this androgynous aspect is probably the most beautiful aspect. He comes in at a very interesting time in cinema where the young women's generation are growing up. 1972. The post-independence young woman is really mature now. And they are looking for a hero who is safe. A safe hero. So I'll give you an example. There is a film called Moonram Pirai, which was called Sadma in Hindi. Now just imagine, here he has got this young girl, very beautiful looking Sri Devi. She's got into an accident and she has lost her memory. And unfortunately, those guys, some bad people have picked her up and put her in a brothel. So Kamal Hassan, by chance, reluctantly visits a brothel and he sees this girl there. And he says, no, you cannot be treated like this. And he runs away with her. He elopes with her and goes to Ooty. He is living in a small bungalow. He's a bachelor. He's a teacher in an Ooty school. And now, there is this very beautiful young girl with him in bed. And he has to take care of this very beautiful young girl. It never crosses our mind who have watched this film. It will never cross your mind as to who gave her a bath, Who changed her underwears, This girl doesn't know anything. And she is safe with him. And the audience, women audience especially, they loved this. What a guy is here. Ek baar bhi usko chhuwa nahi. He treated her like a little child, And now there is another narrative. If you read the book, I talked about how this is merging into the idea of the biblical paradise of Adam and Eve, who don't even know what it is to have sex. They are all blooming up, And then there is Uti. So Balu Mahendra is another. See, his contribution. He makes it look like paradise, And these two young souls are walking around. This boy and the girl, Adam and Eve, is walking around. And finally, when he's about to, and she gets back her memory. And she forgets him. And she forgets who she is. And she goes away with her parents. Now, this is the context of the film. If you do not the film can be watched, but when you understand this context of androgyny, of the Adam and Eve, the biblical paradise, immediately things open up. And you feel, wow, this is how safe. So, her grandmother, her mother, she and her daughter, they will all love this fellow. The 4 generations of women loved Kamal Haasan because he was a safe guy to be with. And by the way, he also recognized it, and therefore in all his films, the women are very strong in his films. They are very strong characters, they are very tough characters. He gives them the space, whether it is Mahanadi or whether it is Kurdi Punal, they're all very strong characters. They come through as women of substance. And he always felt that they should be dealt with properly. And I think that was, sometimes, yes, I will ask him, did you direct this? Is somebody else directing the film? Are you? He says, look, yes, I know I am not the director of the film, but I do give ideas to the director that we can shape the story like this and all. And they take it. Now you will say, this is not right. If we are too stuck up in the idea there is a director and only he or she can actually spell out the final destination of the film, in India it doesn't happen like that. In India, it's all about collaboration, So Kamal Haasan, I have seen him, for example, so often sitting with Ilayaraja, and doing the song compositions for the film. It could be directed by somebody else. But some films, this is his, although there is another director. A film called Guna, for example, this is Kamal Haasan's film. But somebody else is directing them. Or there's another brilliant film called Anbe Shivam. It is directed by Sundar C. And Sundar C himself, I have written in the book, he had no idea what his direction. He says, I was just coming to the school called Kamal Haasan Film School. And I just took this opportunity to say yes to direct the film because I will learn from under Kamal Haasan. So that is this guy's genius, It's so advanced for himself, for this country. As we were discussing this morning, I think Kamal Haasan is probably at an international level, the only consummate actor, filmmaker, singer, poet, writer, makeup man, prosthetician, everything. No place in the world can you find such a and last but not the least, he is probably the only filmmaker who has had the guts to play the role of a Muslim protagonist in Vishwarupam. He is a Muslim who plays the protagonist of trying to sneak into the Al-Qaeda camp and trying to see where the terrorists are. Nowhere in the world has a Muslim become a protagonist, And so sometimes he's very happy that he's arrested in Los Angeles airport, Kamal Haasan, are you a Muslim, They will take him away. He said, no, I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, but my name sounds like a Muslim name. Then why are you here in Los Angeles? And he said, I boldly told them, I have come here to learn how to do makeup to my face. They, oh God, you on top of that, you have come to do prosthetic. But he said, yeah, I like to play with these Los Angeles cops, I know I'll be freed, I know I'm not. I know I'll get free, but that is how it is.
Yeah, one more thing which was very interesting for me is how you play Kamal Haasan's career in the context of the Tamil politics. Could you talk about that? How does his political self also change across through the journey? Yes.
Well, you see, in the book I've called about the pentology, the Balachandra's 5 films. When I started dissecting it, and I'm looking at the Tamil climate at that time, It is happening exactly at that time when the DMK is splitting with the ADMK. Now, it is just coincidental at one level, but it has made a deep impact on the Tamil audience. The Tamil people who are watching these films have, in a way, sensed a sense of betrayal. That this party for which they had given their life for, they had painted thousands of Hindi signs, Hindi out, Hindi origai, They have walked through the streets talking about the great Tamil language, and suddenly these two split. And they split for no obvious, why they split, nothing is clearly given. So they feel a great sense of betrayal. Now what happens is, this reflects in these K. Balachandra's films. A dystopic family. A family which is burdened with betrayals. Betrayals of a different kind. For example, in this film called Arangetram, you will have the oldest sister having to earn money for a poor Brahmin family. And the only way she knows how to earn money is to become a prostitute. So becomes a successful prostitute and feeds the family. In which Kamal Haasan is playing the elder brother who is learning to become a doctor. Now, this dysfunctional family is emblematic of something happening outside. Now, this is my thinking of my reading of the subtext. So when I did talk to Balachandar much later, and I said, this is how I am reading your films, he said, Hari, you are going too deep. I did not really think like this, that this DMK politics is affecting me. Although I was very close to both of them, Karunanidhi and MGR, I was very close to them. But one thing on recollection I can tell you, I was a very angry man at that time. So angered that I gave up the kind of comedy films that he was doing, like Vietnam Bede, Sarvar Sundaram, Edir Neechal. I gave up those kind of family comedy films to make these serious films about dysfunctional families. Yes, there was an anger. He had a heart attack at that time also. So in a way, probably you are right, but as a filmmaker, I did not think like this directly. So that's what kind of we have to also think. Do we have to really ask for validation by the so-called author? That is this what you really thought when you were making this film? No, you don't have to. Sometimes films are a circumstance, a product of the circumstances. And what we call as the narrative of the film is not really in the control of you. When you write a poem or you write a story, the narrative in it is not, in the narration is in your control. But the narrative is environmental. It is global. It is everywhere. It's out there. It doesn't belong to you. So that's what I'm trying to see, the political narrative. Then slowly you will see Jayalalitha coming. And I started writing the book in 2012. By 2014, I was ready with the book. And I was trying to negotiate, get ready with HarperCollins to know how to publish it and blah, 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 we're discussing. And in 2016, came this Vishwarupam. And there, he went into a head-on conflict with Jayalalitha. And Jayalalitha was going to just put him out. You are not going to work with me. I'm not going to allow you. So she sent a restraining order to all cinema theatres in Tamil Nadu, restraining the film from being exhibited. So she could not ban the film because it is passed by the censor board. So she sends a restraining order. And that put Kamal Haasan completely off guard. Because he was not anticipating that the film will not release in Tamil Nadu. The film is released in Karnataka and Kerala and Andhra, but not here. So this anger spelled out, and he went on to say, I will release it somewhere else. And then finally it was a disaster. The film flopped because people have already seen, they asked him to change some dialogues. So there on, she's gunning for him. And from there, he got very angry and he says, maybe I should enter politics. Till 2017, I was saying, and he was that's why the book got stalled a little, because he was whether to go into politics or not. In 2017, when I was at Ashoka University, he called me and he said, Hari, I'm starting. I said, why? Don't start a party, man. You don't have any experience. No, I want to go. I want to teach these people a lesson. And he started a party. Now that pushed my book even further, because now he's a politician and, I don't know what I'm going to write about it. So I'm following him in his campaigns. I'm writing something about it. And then suddenly I realized he's lost the elections miserably. So he is unwilling to talk to me because the elections have flopped. The next film, Vishwarupam Part 2, is a disaster. One after another. And by 2021, he releases this Vikram 2. And he releases that, 22, sorry. 22? Yeah, 22. He releases the film, and who distributes the film? Karunanidhi, Stalin, Red Giant movies, Sun movies. The very person he has blasted and attacked and said they are scoundrels, they are corrupt rascals, he has to go back to them because they have monopolized the Tamil film industry. So he has to go back, and I said, oh my God, now what am I going to write? So my entire chapter on Kamal Hassan's political campaign out. One chapter went out of the window. Now I had to focus on Vikram 2, the last chapter in the book, and I found that Vikram 2 is such a different person. He is such a different person in the film because he has lost so much money in all these films. He has to somehow get it back. Now he has become suddenly the reality of that slush industry is hitting him. He says, now I have to make money. And this is not his kind of film at all. But he had to act it. He had to do it. Now, again, this is Kamal Hassan who will not leave himself. He says, I have to speak my voice. So I have reproduced in that Vikram 2 chapter one monologue that he gives in the movie, explaining why he is a terrorist. And he calls himself an honest militant. A new term, an honest terrorist. Acha, aisa bhi hota hai kya? But he has to explain, why am I doing this role? So poor Kamal Hassan gets into that, and then, the film is released, big blockbuster, an Indian 2, disaster, and Kalki, he is not invisible totally. So he is at the moment sitting in Los Angeles, learning the craft of AI and ML. Yes, he's not going to stop. He is moving into the next level of cinema. This cinema is going to be, somewhere else. So that is his political journey, from where he came, and finally, he's probably thinking of slowly winding up his political outfit, because he is not going to work. And Vijay has come with one political party on top of it. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so I would say we have 5 minutes. So I'll ask my last question and open it up for everyone else. See, there's a lot of change in the stardom itself, as we understand, because as you're saying, there's AI or special effects, and then there's also OTT shutting down of theaters. So everybody's sort of speculating as to what happens to the star. Will it continue? Will it be a new kind of star? How will it?
Absolutely.
What do you think?
No, absolutely. I am very clear that the star is not being built on the personal value of the star. It is being built around a huge circumstance of circus. So when you watch KGF or Pushpa or RRR, I call them circus films. And I think for many of us Indians, the circus is so much in our gut, We miss our circus. It has been banned in this country. Now, what would have happened if circuses continued as normal? Would these films be still on? I do not know. I do not know. That's a speculation. But the truth is that we need to understand this as an audience watching the spectacle of cinema, not the spectacle of the actor. It doesn't matter who the actor is. The actor is just a vehicle now. A transportation, a car that is driving the story. They are not really the storytellers anymore. It is now shifted to this giant spectacle of explosives and cars flying and buildings blowing up, things happening, which is just simply impossible to see in the normal world, So in a way, what you're saying is the human body, corpus as an actor, star, will disappear. And it has disappeared in the Marvel movies, by the way, in Hollywood. It doesn't matter who's acting Superman or Batman, they all behave the same. So what is wrong if an AI acts Batman, It's perfectly all right, That is definitely going. So what started off as the image, the capturing of the image itself, as what we call as verisimilitude, the fascinating of watch a train entering the station, and people ran out of the cinema theater in 1895. They thought the train was actually coming on them. Now that is gone. That physicality of cinema and imaging is gone. And it was replaced by the actor. The actor's physicality needs to be trimmed and trimmed and trimmed and made, bolstered with so many other things. You see, at the end of the day, Yamini, life outside is far more beautiful than cinema. The complexities of life, real life, is far more complex, far more challenging than the stories that these fellows are telling in the movies. It's nothing. So why do I go to see a movie? If not, if you want to show me some demo, of how a truck can go flying like this, I've never seen trucks flying, One truck goes flying, and they see how it, or a car takes off from here. Which car has flown like this? We have also driven enough on the roads. I have never seen cars flying like this. But it happens in the movies. It happens. And I saw another one man, Force, with Jamie Foxx. Yeah. And it's just 2025. Let's watch it on Netflix. Back in action. Yeah, back in action. You will see all these circus, cars flying, toppling, gearing, coming out of the door, bashing out. Wow, they make it so easy. तुम्हारा गाड़ी ठोक के देखो क्या होता है. No, we will never do it, But in the movies it happens. It's a nice circus. We enjoy it. Yeah.
On that note, I'll open up for anyone who wants to ask questions. Can you please raise your hands? I'll then ask you to. Any questions?
Yes,
Yes,
there
please.
one question. There.
Nice to see you again.
ஐயா எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? ஐயோ மறந்தே விட்டேனே. Nice to see you. Yes.
So my question was, during Kamal Hassan's career, there's been this other superstar in Tamil cinema, which I think.
Rajinikanth, yes.
How have they
Okay.
coexisted?
Okay. Good question. I have answered that in the book. See, the thing is that both of them entered Balachander's films. Kamal Hassan and Rajinikanth, they both came in. Both of them playing minor roles. But Kamal Hassan was so knowledgeable, and Balachander is talking to him, and this fellow is one, is style guy. என்ன பண்ண முடியும்பா? நான் சிகரெட் போடுவேன். இப்படி வேணாம். அப்படியா? Very good. பட்டு. He was a gimmick guy, Nice guy, gimmick guy. And so Kamal Hassan and he were paired for many times till they came to 16 Vaidinile. And so he was always, but I'll tell you why they two succeeded. What was the reason? So I have explained it in my book that when the fallout happens between the DMK and the ADMK, one of the first things that happens at a heart level of the Tamil people was they have been betrayed by these two big stars, So at that time, the ruling two superstars were Shivaji Ganeshan and M.G. Ramachandran. So what the audience want now is an alter ego to these two guys. An alter ego in the true dialectical sense, that they must be opposed to everything that those people did. So Rajinikanth modeled himself after an antithesis to M.G. Ramachandran. So if M.G. Ramachandran is a pure guy who would never drink, never smoke, treated women with a lot of respect, called them Amma, Gimma and all that, this fellow is exactly the opposite. He will drink, he'll smoke, and he'll say Amma Podi, he'll say like that. He's completely anti everything that MGR stood for. Similarly, Kamal Hassan was anti everything that Shivaji Ganeshan stood for. If Shivaji Ganeshan was meant for his great Tamil rhetoric, and he will speak local Tamil. And in every Kamal Hassan film in the 70s and early 80s, it was a compulsory for him to come into his underwear, Stand in his underwear and show himself, So in a way, expressing a kind of sexuality which was unseen with Shivaji Ganeshan, So these are the ways these two guys built themselves. Now, if you ask them, did you really think like this? No, they did not think like this. But this is how counter-revolution starts. And therefore, a nice point comes when Kamal Hassan tells Rajinikanth, and Rajinikanth himself recalls this, that if we two keep acting like this, you the villain, I the hero, you will fade out in the next 3 years. Villains will keep replacing. So now you have to become a hero. But you cannot be a hero with me also as the hero. So you stop working with me from now on. So they split on a professional ground. Now Kamal Hassan made a vow to him that every time a producer comes to me to sign me up, I will take an assurance from that producer that the next film will be done with Rajinikanth as hero. And every time somebody comes to you to sign you up, you tell him that next film Kamal is the hero. So anybody want to do a Kamal with film, they will go to Rajinikanth, sign him up. Because they will get Kamal's dates, And this is how they swapped. They actually helped each other become superstars. And this is such a great camaraderie, to know that these two guys helped each other. And who was Rajinikanth? Rajinikanth said, I am nobody in front of this fellow, And just nobody. In fact, when he was shooting Robot, and Robot's script was written for Kamal Hassan first, and then it was adapted for Rajinikanth. Rajini knew this, and in one particular scene in Robot shooting, they were shooting first take, and Shankar said, one more, sir, one more, improve. One more, third take, and Rajini tells Shankar that, look, you want the fourth take, please bring Kamal Hassan and do this scene. I can't do better than this. Now it will go downhill. Keep that take and be happy with it. I am not a Kamal Hassan. He said this in public, Hey, you take him and make the movie. Why are you asking me? This is all I can do for you. So that is how these two grew up. Except that Rajni is a little more financially savvy. He built a big bungalow for himself in Poet's Garden. He invested in his son-in-law's movies. Kamal Hassan is not financially savvy. He is just not financially savvy. So till today, Kamal Hassan does not own a house. He lives in a service apartment. That is the real truth. He is so much enamored with cinema all the time. But that is him. That is him, a delightful person. And he doesn't meet with people so often and all that. So we wanted to bring him for the first year. But he says, I am busy in America now. Let me do my work.
Next question.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. So, why do you think actors generally in Tamil film industry, they enter politics at a very late age? Like even Kamal Hassan entered after crossing 60. But in Telugu industry, if you see, Pawan Kalyan entered at the age of 44. Chiranjeevi at the peak of his career at 52. He was number 1 to 10. Why do you see this difference? And another question, please. What do you see Tamil actor Vijay's role in upcoming 26 elections?
That second question I can't answer. But the first question I will answer. See, Tamil politics, the Dravidian politics of Tamil Nadu, has always been bolstered by film people. Not just actors. Screenplay writers, music directors, lyric writers. They have all been boosted. So they were the core of the DMK party. Whether it is Karunanidhi or whether it is MS Vishwanathan or Kannadasan, they were all the core of the DMK party. So they went on a propagandist line right from the beginning. Because DMK was just born in 1949. Did not exist, just split from DK, and the best of the talent of the DK stayed with DK. DMK was a fledgling party of all screenplay writers and lyric writers. They had nothing else to do but make movies. And they became popular. But now, it's not that. The context of the popularity is not just their songs, but the way their songs were reproduced in public locations. So those were the days when every temple festival, marriage festival would play songs. And these songs were played everywhere. So without your knowledge, you're sitting in some temple in Kumbakonam and you're listening to MGR songs whole day. And MGR has got nothing to do with that function, but you are listening to MGR songs. So this Tamil cinema and politics have been embroiled with each other. Not in Andhra. In Andhra, what happens is, it is thanks to one mayor move by N.T. Ramarao that he comes up to become a politician out of nowhere. So when I asked Kamal Hassan, why do you want, he said, if NTR could do it, why cannot I do it? I said, you cannot compare NTR and yourself, But the circumstances were different. But he somehow felt that he could be a success like NTR. And thanks to NTR, Chiranjeevi and Pawan Kalyan, they are coming as a kind of an image of that, that one-off image, But in Tamil cinema, if you come into the actual politicians of DMK, many of them are involved in film productions and direction, not direction, but distribution. They're all involved in that. Now, Tamil cinema and its DMK politics are intertwined with each other very deeply. So you cannot dismiss it as it is not a coincidence. It is absolutely manufacturing consent, As Chomsky said, they actually manufactured consent, this way. But I'm not against it, but that's the way they saw their strategy and they worked it very well. About Vijay, I have no idea, whether he will become allied with somebody or not. Independently, he is only sole image. You need a cadre of very well-known people. You don't have a cadre, you can't succeed alone. This is my feeling.
Next question. Yes, please. Back, then we'll come back.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
That lady has a question.
Hi. So there was an era in which he was making films like Panchatantram, Pammal Ki Sambandham. Back before that, there was Michael Madan Kamarajan. And the important element in all of these movies was humor. And most of his movies had this aspect. So over the last few years, I don't see that element in his movies. Was that a conscious choice to move on from that form, that kind of humor in his movies, to survive in the world where there is RRR and KGF and all of that?
Right.
Then he also used to work extensively with Mohan Rangachari and all of that.
Right. Okay, so that was a very planned strategy that he would have, that he will do one severely difficult film like Guna, and immediately followed by one equally absurd film called Singaravelan, And Singaravelan will be a huge success. But his producers, by the way, he is not doing this. It is the Ilayaraja, S.P. Muthuraman. They will tell him, hey, they will actually tell him, hey, you did that film, now do Sakala Kala Vallavan, Sir, what's that Sakala Vallavan? These are Padama. Hey, Pandra, keep yourself in touch with the B and C audience. Now, this is all hopeful. But somehow it worked. So he was as good in Sakala Kala Vallavan, playing one absurd character, as much as he is in Guna or he is in, Mahanadi, or very serious films. So he will balance these two. But that was a planned move, to do comedies and serious films parallelly. Yeah.
Yes, you go ahead and then you can.
Namaskar, sir. So, Telugu can...
No, I don't understand. You speak in Telugu, you'll understand.
No, fine, I'll manage. So, there are two questions. First thing, it's from the statement you said, KGF, Pushpa and all are like sort of circus and people love to watch the circus. So, how you would analyze films, would you also analyze audience? And what's your perspective of audience? Maybe we can't generalize all the audience. And also, would you believe, you said there is a colonial legacy in films. Is there a legacy, or is it the slavery we have been used to? Is it being carried by the audience also?
Good question.
And also, do you agree with Racer's statement that we have backward audience?
Who?
Satyajit Ray.
Batman.
Satyajit Ray.
Backward audience. Cinema does not have backward audience.
He stated
backward
it.
Film directors are there. Audience are always forward here. Please don't. I hate this idea of a mass audience, class audience.
No, he had his whole context. I just stated one line from... So what's your take on audience? That's the first thing.
I'll answer. But don't ask me. I can't remember so many questions there. Too bad na. बोलता हूँ इतना question मेरे को पूछेगा. So the first question was...
What's your take on audience?
About the audience. See, cinema is an industrial medium. Okay. Now you're talking about the story. The story is different. It's not that with film. But the way you tell the story. So, for example, you asked me about how these formulas are developed. So the idea that there was a cinema which was rooted in the ethos of melodrama. So in melodrama, it needed songs. It needed fights. It needed great lyricists and great music directors. It had to be a collaboration of good melodrama to come about. Now, melodrama is not so easy as you say. We treat melodrama as if it's a crap movie. No, melodrama is a great art form. And if you do it well, you can make some wonderful films. Now, about second question?
Second one I haven't asked.
Can you have a conversation later? Because I'll just ask him.
Just one last. I just want to know, any of, because heard a lot of analysis. What are your top 3 films, or if it's hard to put 3 films, any 3 makers globally or around?
You want me to know what is Kamal Hassan's top 3 films?
Not
Kamal Hassan, yours.
Not Kamal Hassan's, yours.
My top 3 films. Oh my God.
Your favorite picks. if it's hard for films.
I am an unabashed admirer of what is, I think, one of the world's greatest classics. A film called Meghe Dhake Tara. It's a Ritwik Ghatak film. Please see it.
Meghe Dhaka Tara.
The cloud-capped star. Meghe Dhaka Tara. Meghe means cloud, Dhake means hidden, Tara means star. It's a film by Ritwik Ghatak, which is a magnificent film. The next film is exactly his antithesis. It's a film called Patir Panchali. Brilliant work. But it is exactly the opposite of Megha Dhaka. So I am trying to tell you that I am not fixated on one kind of storytelling. I think there's an equally... And the third film I would love to say, which is very different, would be Pyasa. Guru Dutt's Pyasa, you know. Brilliant works, you know. Now you have to admit, these films should be taught like as classics, world classics, you know. And it should not be just as Guru Dutt's film and Ghatak's film. They are also great music directors, great lyricists. I mean, in which other film, you know, in Pyasa, you have one line which probably summarizes all of our feelings. जिन्हें नाज है हिंद पर वो कहाँ है. Look at this one meaningful line. जिन्हें नाज है हिंद पर वो कहाँ है. Now this word par has two meanings. I can say जिन्हें नाज है हिंद पर on India, वो कहाँ है. Or I can say जिन्हें नाज है हिंद पर वो कहाँ है. But where are they? The same par becomes two meanings. Now this is Sahir Ludhianvi. If Sahir Ludhianvi is not there, you would not have had Guru Dutt. So I think Indian cinema has to be watched seriously as a combination of many great talents coming together to make one film. And it was fortunate that in those days when films were discussed, you know, and I have made films, my entire crew will sit with me and discuss the screenplay. Including my music director and my musician and the singer, they will all sit together and we will discuss a film together. So everybody in my unit will know where this song is going or where this scene is going. Everybody will know. My actors know, everybody knows. Today, with the digital era, it is split it all up. We have one fellow sitting in Los Angeles and speaking on WhatsApp, one fellow sitting somewhere else, he's replying an email. Somebody is composing music in Tokyo and sending it by mail, you know. And you take a sampler by mail and you mix it. No, I'm not saying this is bad, please. This is probably a new era that is coming up, you know, and we have to be ready for it. We got to be ready for that, you know.
One last question and that's it. Yeah.
So now that you have written a whole book on his cinematic journey, if you were asked to direct a film with Kamal Haasan, what is your genre? What do you want?
Oh my God!
What do you want to see him?
See, I met him recently. I asked him what kind of film. He said, "Look, I am now, at least for the moment, I am a nice sellable horse. So if I work in a film, it has to be a budget of minimum 500 crores." I don't even know how many zeros are there in that. So forget me directing a film worth 500 crores. And I asked him, Kamal, why can't you do? Can we do a Papanasam part 2, you know? That Poda, he said, you know. If I launch Papanasam part 2, I'll get probably 30 crores budget. I'll make 3 crores. What will I do with 3 crores? Okay, fair enough.
All right. I know that, you know, we all love to ask him a lot of questions. He will be signing his book at the book point. So you can go and, you know, pick up the book. And thank you so much, Yamini and Hari. Yes. I absolutely, you know, enjoyed it. Probably, you know, I'll take your phone number, email, and, you know, and I'm a crazy movie buff.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
you all for coming.